In half an hour, we catch up with the day's news. First on ITV, Murray and Martin's F1 special.
Welcome to Monza, where the atmosphere is pretty charged to say the least, as we gear up for round 14 of the Formula One World Championship.
You're right there, Martin. It's crunch time for the title. Once again, it's F1 special. On the programme today, a look back at the history of Ferrari, Formula One's most charismatic team. We count the cost of one of Formula One's most expensive weekends ever. Louise Goodman caught up with Mika Salo, back for business after a horrendous Belgian Grand Prix. Plus, a look at the most passionate fans in the world of any sport, the Tifosi. We have a chat with Eddie Jordan, still riding high after that historic maiden victory 2 weeks ago. Pen and paper ready for a special Ferrari competition with a fantastic prize. Plus, all the news from today's crucial qualifying session for the Italian Grand Prix.
And that's where we kick off. With the championship at stake, qualifying here is absolutely crucial for both the McLarens and the Ferraris. Here's Louise Goodman.
Despite brilliant sunshine for the start of qualifying, a torrential downpour in the morning meant that the track was still very wet in places. We were in for a long wait. The drivers were in no hurry and the fans waited for more than half an hour for the first car to emerge from the pit lane. A closer inspection of the track showed why. Damon Hill was the first of the major players to test the waters almost 34 minutes into the session. With just one exploratory lap completed, Damon was back into the garage. But there was soon heavy traffic on the track, and from then on it was action all the way. Michael Schumacher was early into the hunt for his first pole of the season. This lap on intermediate tyres put him briefly at the top of the timesheets. But once the slick men came out, the time started to tumble. McLaren's response came first from David Coulthard, who took the provisional pole, and then came his teammate.
And there he is, Hakkinen, the first man in under 1 minute 27.
Within a minute, Jean Alesi was quickest, and Jacques Villeneuve was right on the pace, in a Williams well suited to the fast flow of Monza. While Alesi was running well, teammate Johnny Herbert was running out of track. Mixed fortunes for Sauber. With just 4 minutes remaining, Alesi was still clinging on at the top, but as the seconds ticked away, Mika Hakkinen upped the ante. As the track continued to dry out, the initiative was back with Michael Schumacher. Willed on by the adoring Tifosi, could he respond and clinch his first pole of the season?
And Michael Schumacher moves into pole position. 1 minute 25.2, 7/10 of a second faster than Coulthard. That was a magical lap.
World Championship leader Mika Hakkinen made one last-ditch attempt to wrestle back the pole. He gave it everything, but for the first time this season, there will be no McLaren on the front row. Instead, it's Jacques Villeneuve who will line up alongside Michael Schumacher, Williams' best qualifying result of the season. A magical day for Michael Schumacher, Ferrari and the Tifosi. And so to the grid. Reigning world champion Jacques Villeneuve is sandwiched between this year's contenders. Schumacher on pole, the McLaren's on row 2. Eddie Irvine's just behind them in 5th. Alesi eventually finished back in 8th. And Damon Hill is back down to earth with a bump.
I just couldn't get a clear lap and I couldn't get a lap together, so qualified 14th, you know. I mean, disappointed, very disappointed.
We could have made a car better. That's what we're going to work on now. And I think for tomorrow we can get a really good car, really fast car. Looking forward.
It's frustrating because I think that in a normal qualifying you'd see Mika and I in the front row, and you know, these conditions we didn't manage to find the space that others did. We'll be quick in the race, and it may take a while, but I think we can work our way at the front.
I was very delighted. It was a nice feeling. It's the first pole position is something we're quite happy about. Important timing for us to do that, so we can dictate obviously the race pace for tomorrow if we keep it into the first corner.
As a racing car constructor, Ferrari has style, charisma and personality like no other. Through the years, their blood-red cars have epitomised the sport of Grand Prix racing. Enzo Ferrari is the greatest name in the history of Formula One. His cars have won more Grand Prix than any other. So, here's our tribute to the men of Maranello. In 1951, Froilan Gonzalez, the Pampas Bull from Argentina, broke the dominance of Alfa Romeo at Silverstone. Ferrari was on its way. Alberto Ascari, son of the great Antonio, twice a world champion, a supreme stylist and virtually unbeatable for 2 years, a double world champion. Mike Hawthorne, all action and Britain's first world champion. Juan Manuel Fangio from Argentina, 5 times a world champion and the greatest of them all. Count Taffy von Trips, so nearly Germany's first world champion, but tragically killed at Monza. At Ferrari, they still talk about John Surtees with reverence and affection, the world's only world champion on 2 wheels and 4. And then came Niki Lauda. At one of Ferrari's lowest ebbs, Lauda transformed their fortunes with 2 world championships in 3 years. In 1979, it was South Africa's Jody Scheckter versus Canada's Gilles Villeneuve all the way, and Scheckter took the title, Ferrari's last world champion. But for sheer never-say-die grit, Formula One will never forget the flamboyant Gilles Villeneuve. Nigel Mansell and Alain Prost, what a pairing, and both of them great winners for the prancing horse. Winners too were Austria's Gerhard Berger and Frenchman Jean Alesi. And now in 1998, Ferrari hopes rest with Michael Schumacher and Eddie Irvine. At Monza, they fight to keep Maranello's championship hopes alive, upholders of a great tradition.
I never had the pleasure of driving a Ferrari Formula One car, but maybe one day. Still on the Ferrari theme, remember this. Michael Schumacher's cap. Back in Brazil, he interrupted one of my grid interviews, so I grabbed it. You can win the very item with this competition. We just found a prize for a competition sometime later this year.
And that's it. Formula One's most famous cap. You can win it by answering this question. With which team did Michael Schumacher make his Formula One debut? Was it Benetton, Ferrari or Jordan? That's A, Benetton, B, Ferrari, C, Jordan. Here's the number to call, 0891 229966, and we'll announce the winner at the Japanese Grand Prix. That's it for the moment, but join us again after the break to find out how expensive the Belgian Grand Prix was for the Formula One teams and for a chat with Eddie Jordan. What a fantastic weekend in Belgium. A new winner, not just a new winner, but first and second. Eddie, you've fought and you've wheeled and you've dealed and you've scrimped and you've saved and you're there. Is that it? What now?
What an introduction, may I firstly say. Fantastic, Murray. I couldn't do it better myself. Spa was very special for the Jordan team ourselves. Yes, we have been through a lot of hard times right from the very beginning. But you know, you earn your reward, and we've had all sorts of joyful days in the past. But I think last Sunday Sunday at Spa was the icing on the cake, so to speak.
You've got this image of being the fun team. What happened after the race and last week?
Well, quite the opposite.
Or is it all a blur?
Well, it is a bit of a blur because the weather was just atrocious. And I was physically cold from either the champagne or the adrenaline. I don't know what happened. And I just felt I needed to go home. And I'd spoken to the kids and I'd spoken to Marie, and it just wasn't conducive. Everything was a mess because it was very late in the day. There was a lot of accidents where people just, I wanted to leave and go home. It was the most sensible thing for me to do, and I really was pleased I did that.
What did your mum say? I know your mum's very close to you.
Oh, sure, my mum was in tears, you know, I don't want to say that. But, you know, they're very emotional. I think it's very difficult to watch something like that on television because you're never sure of what's going to unfold. Mind you, you never know on the pit wall, but at least you've got a lot of things that you're doing. You hear what's talking to the driver and you're telling somebody to watch his back and the other one to do this. So there's a lot of things going on. It takes your mind away. But I think when you're very captive and you're watching it on television, you do find that it is a much more emotional occasion.
Back to business, Ed. Since then, you've released Ralph from his contract. How much did he have to pay?
Oh, I think that would be gone beyond the bounds of possible. Marty, come on, we're not into the money syndrome, you know that. And
oh, it's changed.
Yeah, it has changed a little bit since you left us, Marty.
I left you a little.
I'm sure you did.
What now, Eddie? I mean,
well, I'm very pleased.
You've won a race. What now?
Well, first of all, I'll just tell you about my new recruit, if I may, because I'm a bit overjoyed about Heinz Harald coming. He drove for us in Formula 3090. With Eddie Irvine as a teammate. I've watched him ever since, and I actually think that he will enjoy the atmosphere in Jordan. I think you'll see, hopefully, a new Heinz Harald, because not everybody fits into the
sensitive flower.
He is very sensitive, and I'm not sure the right environment is not a problem with Williams. It's just that I don't think he probably suited that particular situation.
I think it makes sense. I can understand you going for experience, maybe Constructors' Championship or something, but why didn't you go for a young charger?
There were a number of reasons. We have a huge opportunity with Honda. And they did most of the development work with him in '94 in Japan, so he was a favoured son, so to speak. The experience is very important. I'm starting next year with both drivers having been winners, both having been on pole position, and we as a team having won. So it's a fairer, more even balance all the way around, and I'm more happy with that at the moment. I'm going to give it a try. If it doesn't work, I'll revert back to the old system.
Eddie, I'm sure you're going on to even better things, but this one is fabulous. Well done.
Thank you.
Eddie Jordan finally enjoying that first Grand Prix victory in Spa. He left the circuit with 3 cars intact, but not all the teams can say that. 22 cars smashed to pieces over the Grand Prix weekend. Benetton lost 3. It cost them £500,000. All of the accountants are licking their wounds and counting the costs. Why? Because nose cone and front wing, £15,000. Rear wing, another £15,000. Engine cover, £5,000. Side pods, £3,000 each. Suspension £25,000 for each of the 4 corners, and often on a heavy impact the gearbox gets broken, £60,000, as does the cylinder block, another £100,000 for the engine. We calculated in total £3.5 million cost for the accidents at the Belgian Grand Prix. But it doesn't stop there. They would have been back in England on the Monday night after the race, and by the following Sunday they would have to be in the truck on the way across Europe to the Monza Grand Prix, just a 6-day turnaround. The implications for the teams are enormous, and one of the guys most in pain was Tom Walkinshaw of the Arrows team. Tom, we've been looking at the incredible cost of repairing the 22 cars that were damaged in Spa, but that's just part of the story, isn't it? 3 of them were yours. Here we are, just 2 weeks later at the Monza Grand Prix, and you've had to rebuild your team, effectively.
Yeah, we had 3 cars written off over the weekend, and the monocoques of each one was damaged, so that creates a huge logistical problem, trying to repair them, turn it around in 8 days, and then get everything down to Monza.
Do you keep that amount of parts in stock, or do you have to get them made quickly, or...?
You keep some of them in stock, obviously the bits you normally break, but Spa was so exceptional, you ended up breaking a whole lot of things that normally you wouldn't expect to break, certainly in the volume. So we've had to have a lot of bits made just with people, all the suppliers and everything else working 24 hours a day for the last 10 days to get here.
So how do you cope with the cost of what, I mean, it must have cost you, I don't know, off the top of my head, at least £500,000 in damage. How on earth do you cope with that? Do you add it all up? Do you just ignore it and think, well, we've got to go racing?
Well, you've got contingencies in your budget. It's not very nice to use up the entire contingency in one weekend, but, it's the business we're in, and, once every so many years it happens, and it's painful, but you've just got to grin and bear it, as you say.
Well, I hope you have a better Monza Grand Prix, Tom. Thanks for talking to us.
Pleasure.
So, Belgium was a pretty dramatic weekend for Tom Walkinshaw, but not half as dramatic as it was for Mika Salo. He had a mammoth off at Eau Rouge on Saturday, and then he got caught up in all the start fracas on Sunday. Happily, though, he's perfectly all right, and Louise Goodman caught up with him on the old banking here at Monza.
Well, this is certainly the stuff that legends are made of, isn't it? Would you race here?
Oh yeah, definitely. We need more circuits like this.
But surely it would make it so dangerous.
Probably, yeah, but we have to improve it again because cars are pretty safe at the moment and the circuits, and I had a good lesson on it on last weekend. And
that was certainly one hell of a shunt in Spa, wasn't it?
Both of them really. So and the one, I think the Saturday one was the better one still out of those 2. And
better?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I didn't have any crashes or anything like that in 4 years, and then 2 big ones in 1 weekend. It's quite unlikely to happen, but it happened.
Any after effects of it? Are you feeling okay now?
No, I'm okay now. I still have a little bit stiff back, but nothing more mentally because I wasn't in a race in the end. So I destroyed 2 cars and I wasn't in a race, so it wasn't very nice.
But you say the better of your shots. I mean, that sums up your attitude to it, though, doesn't it? You laugh about it and say, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, no, it's of course you can. What else you can do? It's I'm lucky I'm here to remember those things still because after the accident I couldn't remember anything for 1 hour at least, and was totally confused. And they still let me drive afterwards. So it was quite good, but it was high-speed accident. I never had one that high speed before, and it was new experience for me.
And then Jack, your big mate Jacques Villeneuve, had a big shunt, virtually at the same place as well, didn't he? Did you discuss notes afterwards?
Yeah, first thing he came to me, I said mine was bigger. And I said no, it wasn't, because I knew his speed was 285 and mine was 295, so I had more speed, so mine was bigger.
Honour. What honour?
He was very upset about it because his was actually smaller than mine.
And you went off to the hospital as well?
Yeah. He said I was weak because I went to hospital.
You're sort of the nearly man, aren't you? You've never quite... Everybody's waiting to see what you can do in a car.
Yeah, well, I haven't got the car yet.
Did you feel that yourself as well?
Yeah, of course. I haven't got the car yet. I wouldn't be here if I didn't think I could win. I've been winning all my life. Since I was 5 years old, I've been winning races, and suddenly when I came to Formula 1, it stopped. So I just haven't got the car at the moment, and I'm working on it. And as soon as I get one, you will see the results.
One of the amazing things about this part of the world is the passion of the most famous Formula 1 fans of all, the Tifosi. But who are these devoted followers of all things Ferrari? James Allen's been to investigate.
Young or old, the Tifosi's love for Ferrari spans the generations. It is part of Italian culture. Like a soccer fan's love for his team, they share the emotions, the joy of victory and the agony of defeat. There is only one team in Italy, and it's been around a long time.
It's a tradition. I must remind you that in the Italian Grand Prix of 1935 in Monza, we had 250,000 spectators. And that means that motor racing is in the blood of the Italians. And even today is the second sport after football.
The Tifosi are very knowledgeable about Formula One, but their passion for Ferrari is not based on reason.
You cannot judge the Tifosi with the brain. You must judge them with the heart. If next season Schumacher, for example, is driving a Jordan, they will hate him. And you know, it's part of the passion. The passion in Italy is just for the car and not for the driver.
But there have been some great heroes. Recently, Jean Alesi wowed the Tifosi with his passionate style.
I had a very good feeling with them. I was always doing something more, like sliding with a car or saying hello in my installation lap, or when I was finishing my session, I was always doing something for them.
Events at Spa rouse the passions, but then with the Tifosi, it's always from the heart.
The Tifosis are emotional, and on some degree that's what we love about the Tifosis. That's what is loved by Ferrari. But what is great is
versus Schumacher. Here's the best of both of them in 1998.
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by BusinessNet is www.itv-f1.com.